Good morning. I'd like to welcome everybody to find a seat. We're on a reasonably tight homecoming schedule, so we don't want to get started late. Peter, I got to be honest, I tried to decide whether you, this morning on my drive from Galesburg, wwhether you were an on-time guy or if you were always late. Which was it? Late a lot? Okay. Well, you're on time today. So my name's Roger Haynes. I'm the athletic director at Monmouth College and coach track and field for men and women as well. So we want to welcome all of our alumni, family, and friends, whether it's your first visit or a return visit to our beautiful campus. I hope that you enjoy your time with us this weekend. We're still not out the finish of COVID yet, so when you're indoors in buildings this weekend during the homecoming activities, we ask that you remain masked. Of course, we want to be able to see and hear our speakers well today, so allow them to take those masks off if they're comfortable with that. First, I'd like to recognize the Pratt and Axline families for their generous contributions that make the permanent home of the Hall of Fame such a great location to recognize the best of Fighting Scots athletics. So for any of you that haven't been here, would like to see the plaques for the inductees today, right upstairs behind the glass wall. As you exit the stairwell, it'll be to your left, or as you exit the elevator, it'll be back to your left as well. So you can step up there and see past inductees and the plaques for the current inductees today. We'd also like to thank Jane Pratt and Bill Axline families for all they've done for athletics at Monmouth College over these many years. At this time, I'd like to acknowledge the passing of multiple members of the M-Cub Hall of Fame over the past 2 years since our last meeting. We're deeply saddened by the passing of Fighting Scot greats Ray Brooks, Ken Geiger, Tom Nickel, Roger Rasmussen, Bruce Stotler, Joe Tate, and Bill Taylor. Please join me for a moment of reflection to recognize the passing of these Fighting Scot standouts. Thank you. Before we move on, I'd like to thank the members of our Student Athlete Advisory Committee serving as our host this morning, handing out programs for us. The mission of the National Student Athlete Advisory Committee is to enhance the total student athlete experience by promoting opportunity, protecting student athlete welfare, and fostering a positive student athlete image. A lot of activities going on campus today. I'll run through them quickly for you. The homecoming parade will be on East Broadway between 6th and 9th. That'll begin at 10 a.m. It'll include the pipe band and Fighting Scot marching bands. Last year's homecoming King and Queen will also ride in the parade, as will the 2021 homecoming court, alumni award recipients, and the class reunion groups, 40, 35, 30, 10, and 5-year reunion classes. At 11 a.m. this morning, the women's soccer team will take on Beloit College out at Peacock Park on the edge of campus, followed by the men's soccer contest at 1:30. Next door this morning in Glennie Gym at 11:30, the women's volleyball team will play a conference match versus Midwest Conference foe Ripon College. The homecoming football game against Cornell College will kick off at a special start time at 2 p.m. in Zorn Stadium. We ask, and I'll remind you again, we ask that all 3 inductees be at the 50-yard line to meet me at 1:45, so you'll be recognized to the crowd, and other than this in the parade, right before the coin toss, you'll be recognized for the football crowd, and that's your last activity for the day for us. So you're free to do what you need to do with your family and friends. So at this time, it's my pleasure to introduce our next speaker this morning. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the #1 fan of Fighting Scots athletics, Dr. Clarence Wyatt, President of Monmouth College.
Thank you, Roger. And before I go any farther, I just want to recognize Roger Haynes for all of his many, many contributions to the life of this college over so many years. Athletics is a vital part of the Monmouth College education. Currently, some 57% of our students participate in intercollegiate athletics at least once during their time as a student. For them, athletics is integral to their development as young people, where they learn and share the lessons of teamwork, discipline, and commitment to excellence. And for the rest of us who don't participate directly, athletics draws us together as a community of pride and mutual support. This year's 3 inductees certainly exemplify all that is best in being a noble Monmouth College Fighting Scot. Congratulations to Peter, Justin, and Kathy, and you all will hear more about them in a few moments. And today we recognize the Fighting Scot who is no longer with us physically, but whose spirit continues to guide, instruct, and inspire. Coach Tom Burek succumbed to COVID last winter. Since that time, we have shared the profound sadness that Tom's family has endured, but we also share with them the comfort, the satisfaction, the pride, and a life lived in service to others. Tom called for and nurtured those qualities of teamwork, discipline, and commitment to excellence. By helping his students develop these qualities, he changed the arc of their lives and through them the arc of the lives of so many others. That is why Tom Burek will live as long as there is a Monmouth College. I want to recognize Tom's wife, Gay, and ask their daughters, Kaylin and Lane, to please come to the podium.
On behalf of our family, my sister and I want to say thank you to Monmouth College for having us here to receive such an honor in remembrance of our dad, Coach Tom Burek. It is also with great pleasure today we will be gifting a check for a scholarship in his name for a Monmouth College student. If any of you had the pleasure of meeting him, you would remember his booming voice, yellow Crocs on a pool deck, his khaki pants, and the command to goggle up. He was always larger than life and filled any room with his presence. For many of his swimmers, I imagine he was like a father figure beyond just their coach. He had a sincere interest in bettering his swimmers, not only in the sport, but in their lives as well. He had a way of giving to others no-nonsense advice about life. He provided so many with a sense of enjoyment in a difficult sport that challenges many enough to want to quit, including his 2 daughters standing here today. After he passed, it was truly humbling to hear the stories of impact he had across so many different people's lives.
For us as his family, we knew how important swimming was to him, especially here at Monmouth. There was hardly a day he was not at the pool checking chemicals, creating practices, or making lineups. His level of dedication was felt by many. Although he may have seemed intimidating to many at first, it wasn't long until he made you feel like part of his family. He provided so many with a sense of security and comfort. No matter where he was coaching, he truly enjoyed every minute of it. One of his last emails to his swimmers here at Monmouth highlighted how excited he was for the spring season of 2021, which he typed up while sick with COVID. And although it was an incredible loss for many when he passed from COVID, we are forever impressed by the legacy he leaves behind. So please, tell all your Coach Tom stories to your family and friends, because that is how he will continue to live on. And we know everyone expects this to end with goggle up, but we think it is only fitting today to say, Go Scots!
Thank you to Gay and Kaylin and Lane for the heartfelt words about Coach Burek. I miss him on a daily basis for all straightforward leadership he exhibited to our young staff, the caring mentoring that he showed to our student athletes, but especially for the brilliant mind that I was fortunate to talk with on a daily basis about the specifics of training track and swim kids, because there were so many similarities. So thanks again to the Burek family. But today we're here to recognize also the accomplishments of 3 special inductees who represented Monmouth College in track and field, football, and as a dedicated coach for women's athletics. The first is a record-setting pole vaulter who helped lead the men's track program to 8 consecutive Midwest Conference titles. Equally important were his efforts at the NCAA championships, where he helped the Fighting Scots to a 3rd place team finish at the 2007 NCAA Outdoor Championships, and then they followed that up the next spring. He won the NCAA championship at 2007 Outdoor. He also helped the Scots to a 2nd place national team finish at the 2008 Indoor Championships. Now to present Peter Sprecher for induction into the Monmouth College Athletics Hall of Fame is his father, Mr. Rod Sprecher.
Peter first met Coach Roger Haynes the spring of 2004 Peoria Journal Star track meet. It was a meet that invites the area's best performers near the end of the season. Pete came away from that meeting with Coach acknowledging that this man knew so much about the mechanics of the pole vault. In the following few weeks, Peter, my wife Jean, and I met Coach Haynes at this campus. We were truly impressed by the beauty and layout of the campus, especially this facility, the Huff Sports Center. Over the next 4 years of indoor and outdoor track and field seasons, we traveled many times to Monmouth and other venues through the Midwest, mostly for track and field, but occasionally for concerts, and that Peter was able to fulfill his interest in music as well as athletics. He participated in the marching band and the concert band. During the last year or so, we had the pleasure of an additional Monmouth student passenger to many events, Michelle Burton, a young lady that Peter had met and would later marry. And yes, there were bagpipes at his wedding, at their wedding, I should say. They now share a home in Frankfort, Illinois, with 3 beautiful daughters, Isabel, Nora, and baby Emily. During his 4 years, he participated with the men's team that won 8 conference championships, as Coach has already mentioned. And he set the then indoor record in 2008 of 17 feet 3/4 inches. He qualified 6 times at the NCAA national meets, indoor and outdoor, 2006, 7, and 8. He was an All-American in 4 of those championships, including the time that he won in 2007. He was proud to be on teams that had these impressive finishes, as Coach has mentioned, the 3rd place finish in 2007 outdoor and the 2nd nationally in indoor 2008. The 3rd place outdoor they got, I personally remember that it climaxed by one of the most exciting 4x400 relay races I've ever seen. Upon his graduation, Pete held both the indoor and outdoor records in the pole vault for Monmouth College. His degree in exercise science was aided by Coach Haynes' vast knowledge of that subject. Coach relayed to me one time, I think, that he had convinced his mother to buy him his first biomechanics book when he was just 13 or 14 years old. After watching Coach Haynes and his staff for 4 years, I'm convinced that if Coach Haynes hasn't already written a book on this subject, he should. Thank you, Coach Haynes and your staff, for the dedication to this program. Monmouth College gave our son many good things, scholastically, athletically, and musically. Peter received daily lessons in leadership. Christian leadership is exhibited through service, and Monmouth College personnel at all levels seemed always ready to serve their students and their families. Our family is proud of Peter's accomplishments while here at Monmouth College, his devotion to his wife and daughters, and his dedication as a law enforcement officer in the communities he serves. At this time, I'd like to ask Peter to come up.
Well, I'm not much of a public speaker, so I'll try to make this quick. Thank you, Dad. Thank you, Coach. I'd like to thank the college, the athletic department, the M Club for all their hospitality and the selection. I'd like to thank my wife for sticking with me for this whole time. We've been together since my sophomore year, and again, she's always been there for me, toting around to all my track meets. All the long days, I'd be spending here in the Huff Center and just putting up with me just in general. She gave me 3 beautiful daughters, Isabel, Nora, and Evelyn. And I'd like to thank my in-laws for showing up and my parents for showing up. My father and mother, again, they support me through all this. They helped me go through school here. I know it wasn't the easiest thing to support them to a private school. However, they knew that this was the path that looked best for me, and they helped support me through it. And they were doing every track meet. Doesn't matter where it was in the nation, they were there and support me through it. My father, he was kind of my inspiration getting into pole vaulting. It's kind of a obscure sport to get into as a high schooler, but he had done it back in the day, back when they were vaulting on bamboo poles and Swedish steel, and landing in sawdust and sand. So he always told me if I ever had to vault in sawdust and sand, just make sure the cats hadn't been in there prior to jumping. So that was his advice growing up. But going through high school, I was a mediocre athlete, just trying to do the best I could. And again, I met Coach at the Journal Star meet, and he had just a wonderful mind as far as the event went, and just track and field in general. And you could see the passion that he had for it, and that was kind of what drew me to the school. And then my parents and I took a visit, and again, just a beautiful campus. Everyone was just wonderful, and I immediately knew this is where I wanted to be. So I'd like to go ahead and thank Coach Haynes, Coach Woodard, and Coach Staggs. They were fantastic coaches, bringing all these new kids into this incredible program. The passion and the knowledge that they brought was very inspiring. You knew that they wanted to be here. They didn't have to be here. They were very knowledgeable and everything, and they always knew how to relate that to the athlete. Not all of us are the easiest learners, and you can tell somebody the same thing over and over and over, but they may not get it. So you have to be somebody like one of our coaches that can explain to you the same thing 500 different ways just to find the one way to make it click and get through to the athlete. And that was me. I needed that 500 ways because I was, again, an average high school athlete that was entered into a new level of training and experience. And the program, as soon as I came in, I saw what kind of a level they were training at, and I was immediately wanting to be a part of it. And the program itself, as most of you know, Coach has put together a phenomenal program that's been successful for many, many years. And that's a testament to him and his coaching staff and the school. I was, like I said, not the best athlete growing up, but I had enough of the tools, and he saw that. And I guess I was either too stubborn or too dumb to know when to quit. And that was kind of my saving grace, because I spent many hours right over there on the pull-up mats, and I didn't really understand at the time how many hours Coach Haynes puts in. But he would be here early in the morning, and then go through our entire practice into the evening, and then the pole vaulters, we'd always be the ones staying late, and he'd be right there with us, and he would be right there with me. I don't know how many times I'd run up and down that runway, but sometimes it'd be like I'd be running my head into the wall trying to figure out what's going on, and he'd be right there. He'd sit down, he'd look at me, kind of look down the ground, and he'd mull it over, and then he'd come up with the most simple answer that clicked with me, and we'd fix whatever issue we were working on, and we got through it. So he always had a way with all of his athletes. So the program in and of itself made the average athlete, very competitive, and in my case, fairly successful. The program and the athletic department and everything that I accomplished here with my team instilled a solid work ethic and taught me a new level of responsibility. It prepared me for life in many ways. I am who I am today because of my family's values and the experiences I had here at Monmouth College. And I have to thank all my teammates. We had a phenomenal team, and not just the pole vaulters, but our entire team as a whole. Track and field is one of those team sports that you don't really think as a team sport, because there's a lot of individuals doing very individualistic things to come together as a large team. And it's something that you don't really understand until you get to another level. And Coach Haynes was able to bring us all together as a team and do great things. My teammate Johnny Hinkins was inducted a few years prior, and he was very deserving, and he was one of the greatest blessings I had coming to school here. We didn't always have the best competition whenever we'd go to certain meets. We'd go to meets where we'd kind of beat up on teams, but it was nice because we could always bring our competition with us. Johnny and I, we pushed each other to new heights, figuratively and literally. It was wonderful to work with him and see him excel just as much. Again, this was an incredible life experience that made lasting memories. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Where's Jeff Rankin at? If Jeff's still here, Jeff, you got to mark it down. That's the first time in history anybody's referred to Johnny Hinkins as a blessing. I need to make sure if we have audio of that or video, we need to send that to his mother immediately, because she's the only one that ever knew it. Peter, I've changed a lot in the last 13 years, and I think you could ask Coach Woodard. I actually am quite a bit calmer than when I coached you guys. I probably learned a little bit of that when we had a big pole vault group at the time, and pole vaulters were here last because they take the longest to practice by far of anyone on the team. But I learned a little bit of patience when some girl who wasn't on the team started showing up, sitting on the bench watching pole vault practice, and I came to find out eventually that was going to be the future Mrs. Sprecher. So she was around on occasion, and she was always there at meet. So Michelle, thanks for all you've done for Peter, because I know between you and his mother it was a big job, so we appreciate it. Our second inductee today exhibited the ability and effort necessary to become the all-time leading tackler in Fighting Scots football history with 361 career stops. His leadership helped the Scots to a perfect 10-0 regular season record in the NCAA playoffs. So now to present Justin Ziegler for induction into the Monmouth College M Club Athletic Hall of Fame, Mr. Chad Braun, head football coach here at Monmouth College.
A little emotional this morning. Caitlin, Lane, Gay, Tom was my friend, and I miss Tom too. So I I'm going to move on to present Justin Ziegler. When we talk to our Fighting Scott football players, we ask them what's their one word when they play here, and that what it means to be a Fighting Scott football player. And the one word I always think of when I think of Justin Ziegler is family. You didn't just get Justin when you got him here as a football player. You got Steve and Brenda, his parents, outstanding supporters of Justin. You got his brothers. I was fortunate enough to coach his younger brother, Nick, and then Eric was at every game. You got aunts, uncles, everybody supported Justin at every football game. Justin's a great husband to Paula, great parents to Easton and Kaysen. I remember the recruiting process with Justin. I remember Coach Bell telling me about Justin and how he's had a chance to walk on or play at Western. They were maybe going to scholarship, maybe weren't. And I remember his coach telling us, if you get Justin, you're going to get an All-American football player. I remember recruiting Justin. Now, something about Justin. Justin was super talkative on the phone. And if you want to ask my wife, I am not a very verbal person. I can sit in silence very easily. And Justin, man, that guy, this is back before cell phones. Nowadays when you recruit, you text guys, it's short and sweet. I like it much better that way. Justin would talk for hours and hours, and I'm like, this kid better be worth it. Fortunately, he was. There was no doubt about it. Justin has unmatched work ethic, character. He was everything that we envisioned he would be as a football player. Had a great love for the weight room. Never had a hard time getting him in there. He did great things in the weight room. I remember, we go into game one his freshman year against Loras College, and it's about 100 degrees out, hot game up there, and here he is playing game one, and the kid never came off the field in high school. He played offense, defense, special teams. And I remember looking at him on the sideline. He's huffing and puffing. He's like, man, this college football thing's a little bit harder in high school. But Justin had an outstanding career for us. Like Coach said, number one all-time in career tackles with 361. Also holds the record for tackles for loss in a season with 23. As a linebacker, he's the only linebacker that is listed up there in career tackles for loss, which is really, really special. Most of those are defensive linemen, so really, really special. So, I remember in 2014, we were a team trying to get over the hump. We played St. Norbert that year, and we got smoked. We gave up 500 yards of offense. I should have been fired as the defense coordinator. We went 9-1 that year, and I remember that summer, the summer of 2015, I went up to St. Norbert. I worked a football camp up there, and I remember being up there and saying, are we ever going to get over the hump? Are we ever going to win that first conference championship? And lo and behold, in 2015, it took a Hall of Fame performance by Justin Ziegler to get that done. In that game, he had 12 tackles, 3.5 tackles for loss, 2 sacks for 12 yards. And with people like Justin Ziegler, we were able to accomplish that goal. So, Justin, you're a Hall of Famer. I love you. Welcome to the Hall.
I promise you, we do not have the same tailor. It just happened to happen that way today. Thank you, Coach Braun, for introducing me. It is an honor to be inducted to the M Club Hall of Fame. I know this is an individual honor, but I would not be standing here today without my teammates, my coaches, and most of all, my family. At every game, there was a small army that always came to support me, whether it was freshman year through senior year. And the one thing that my dad brought to Monmouth College and stayed for quite some time was tailgating. He got here in the first one, he's like, where's everyone at? So at the North Lawn, he just started, bought a grill, sat up there, and everyone came. By my senior year, it was full, right? To reminisce a bit, my first trip down to Monmouth, I was not sure if I wanted to play offense or defense. First, I was recruited by Coach Bell, and once I had committed to defense, Coach Braun started taking over. I'm not sure if Coach Braun put it up, but he introduced me to the two fullbacks on campus, and it was Adam Chorzy and Edwin Kraken. After seeing those two, I quickly said, I'll play defense. Leading up to my first college game, I did not think I was going to start. You can even ask my parents, because when they got there and they listed starting defense, I was on there. They looked at people that came up with them. Did you know he started? No. I didn't believe I was starting. All right? It was just something that was over my head. I didn't think that I was that good. But to my teammates, you will never know how much it drove me to be a better player. I did not come from a stellar program. I did not have much recognition coming out of high school. I remember being in awe of some of the accolades that you had, that you played in state title games, that you were all state. It made me train that much harder to be at the state level. I tried to keep the mindset through my 4 years to always train like you're always in second place and never feel satisfied. For the D linemen, you guys made my life easy as a linebacker. Tyler Dealey, Andy Stump, Justin Fenton, Nick Bush, Anthony Gordonson, Tobias Dickerson, Wes Levy, and many more did an outstanding job of winning the battle in the trenches, allowing the linebackers to run free and make tackles. Our defensive backs were second to no one, being able to lock down our opposing receivers and make pre-snap checks to help us put us in our right coverage. Ryan Bass, Tyler Yardy, Luke Jackson, Doug Caesar, Justin Ordo, Matt Fleming, and many others were a great group of guys to work with. To my fellow linebackers, Rob Rogers, Greg Mon, Phil Kleckler, Jason Goldsworthy, TJ Scruggs, and again, many more. It's an honor to play with you all. You each brought different attributes to our group, rounding out our defense, and in my mind, one of the best defenses ever come through Monmouth College. To my coaches, you are the reason I chose to come to Monmouth College. You sold me the direction that you had for the program. The campus was not what it is today. The library was just getting a facelift. The Huff Center was just a drawing. We only had one dorm with AC. We lived in the old cage in the old basketball room. After that, we started the Huff Center. We lived in the tent, what I deemed the Steve Bell Fitness Center. Your plan worked. In my senior year, we were conference champions. Coach Bell, I'll never forget your cool, calm demeanor in tough situations, like up at St. Norbert when we were down at halftime. You just turned and looked at us, relax. We'll make our adjustments. You know we can score points. We're going to be just fine. Coach Ragone, your energy would give the Energizer Bunny a run for its money. I'll never forget when you toured us after a lackluster practice, after beating St. Norbert, yelling, "You think you're good?" while ripping his shirt off. I was also impressed with your special teams knowledge. I asked you why we kept on changing our kickoff return, and your response was, if it's not broke, break it and make it better. I have since adopted that motto into my coaching as well. Coach Braun, you influenced me the most both on and off the field. You pushed me the best I could, whether that was on the field or off of it. You held nothing back during film session. After that time, freshman year against St. Norbert, in film session you took to me, Ziegler, that was the worst game you ever played. I believe you understood me. You knew what it takes to challenge and better myself. We had a yelling match junior up in Concordia, Wisconsin. I was supposed to wrong arm tackle. Coach turned and looked at me. "Ziegler, you got a wrong arm." I turned and screamed, "I did!" I didn't hear much more from Coach Braun the rest of that game. The next film session, next day, I did also go to him and apologize and say I should never yell at my coach like that during a game. To my family, you were always there to support me no matter what I did, whether that be football, wrestling, baseball, track, or basketball. Well, you can leave baseball out. I wore 00 for a reason. It was my batting average. I always had support from my family. Tim, Trent, Travis, you mean more to me than you know. Having heard stories of your past performances make me want to live up to what you accomplished before. To my brothers, Eric and Nick, your support through my 4 years meant everything to me. Eric, seeing you wearing my jersey number proudly at my games, even though you, seeing you wear my jersey number proudly at my games, even though you used to literally kick the crap out of me when we were younger. Nick, coming to support me after you played hard on Friday nights, and also coming to Monmouth and playing for the Scots. I know we may not always see eye to eye, but I'm proud to call you my brothers. Mom and Dad, you supported me no matter what I did. I'm forever grateful and in debt. Dad, I'm sorry for making fun of you when I was younger. When one of your high school friends talked about how good you were in football. I matured and understand the importance of the legacy that you leave. Even though I insulted you, you never missed a game through middle school, high school, and college. Mom, you missed one. I blame Sterling Newman. You supported me through every sporting event I had. You knew nothing of wrestling, but sat through 8-hour-long wrestling tournaments on Saturdays. Go to track meets when I'd run the first event and then wait and run the last event. You showed up at my dorm room randomly, freshman year, cleaning it just to make sure that I was doing all right. You still did that day, just at my house. I wouldn't change it for the world. To Monmouth, you have given me extended family beyond my wildest dreams. Without you, I would never have befriended Anthony Welty, Alan Paterney, or Travis Miller. I would not have shared so many memories with Jason Myers and Seth Roeder. I also would not have met my wife. I met her through the Student Athlete Advisory Committee. We traveled up to Lloyd College, and my wife went to Rockford College. She was there presenting to us. It's kind of a funny story. My senior year, I did have about a foot-long beard, very shaggy hair. I wore a flannel, a trucker cap, and I had a big cast on my right arm. And I'm pretty sure it did not smell very kind. Our relationship didn't start there, but on the way home, I asked her sister, who was the head basketball coach at the time, if she was single. She did not respond to me. We later met at Monmouth College again after a basketball game. Let's just say the rest is history. We each love our respective colleges so much that each of our sons' middle names reference our alma maters. Easton's middle name is Scott. That is how much Monmouth means to me. Thank you for your undying support through the years of my football career. I am blessed to have family that continues to show up to support me as they are today. That is evident as I speak today as well. Thank you for believing me and the player that I could become. I would not be the person today without your guidance. I am honored my boys could share this monumental lifetime achievement. Thank you, and go Scots.
For those of you that visit Monmouth College, it's a good experience, we hope. For those of you that have spent lots of time here, like many of these folks have, it becomes something that really nobody else can understand. I woke up one day a week or so ago and realized that there's a strange connection here. Coach Wagner coached at Monmouth for a long time, had a good career at Knox, came back and worked in student life here. She actually had to work some pole vault competitions because I couldn't find anybody else that Peter was involved in. So it all comes back around eventually. Which leads me to our third inductee. I told her this story because I'm sure she doesn't remember it until I told her this summer, but I will never forget it. Coach Wagner was teaching. She coached 4 different sports when I was in school, and I had the pleasure of a one-on-one swim class that I had to be able to pass to graduate. And I grew up on a farm, and you swim in farm ponds. There are other things floating around in the farm ponds sometimes from the animals on the farm. So you don't necessarily learn to put your face in the water. So swimming for me was kind of keeping myself alive and getting to the shore. So it was one-on-one in the old pool underneath where the training room is now. It was my senior year, third semester during track season. And Coach Wagner would sit at the edge of the pool and say 4 strokes of side crawl, 4 strokes of backstroke, 4 strokes of something else. So for the first month of the track season, I walked around unable to lift my arms to throw the javelin or high jump or do anything else I did at the time. So I'm sure I didn't always think as well of her during those classes as I do over the years since and now. So with that being said, our third inductee today helped multiple Fighting Scots women's programs to success with her leadership. Kathy Wagner's volleyball program won consecutive Midwest Conference titles in 1981 and 82. Not to be outdone, the softball program won the Midwest Conference title in 1987. Coach Wagner also coached basketball and tennis during her career on the bench for the Scots, leading 4 different MC programs at various times. So now to present Coach Wagner for induction into the Monmouth College Athletic M Club Hall of Fame, a fellow Hall of Famer, Ms. Kim Buckert Fox, class of 1988 at Monmouth College.
Good morning. It is a wonderful day to be back on campus for Monmouth College homecoming and to celebrate these 3 outstanding M Club Hall of Fame inductees. Many of you may not know that Coach Kathy Wagner coached 4 sports during her tenure at Monmouth, which ran from 1980 through 1987. She coached women's basketball from 80 to 82 and tennis in 1980. After basketball and tennis, she transitioned to coach women's volleyball and softball from 81 through 1987, where she enjoyed much success. Her teams exemplified Monmouth's winning tradition. In volleyball, she recorded the 2nd most wins in school history, with a win-loss record of 110 and 51. That also ranks her 1st in win percentage. With the 1983 team, she recorded a school record 14-game win streak, and the 86 team ranks 3rd in single season win percentage and 5th with most wins. As Monmouth College women's softball coach, she again holds the record for best career win percentage and boasts the 2nd most wins in school history with a record of 94, 62, and 1. Her 1983 team ranks 2nd and the 86 team 4th for best win percentage in school history. The Lady Scots won South Division titles in 85 and 87, while the 1987 team was Midwest Conference champions. I was blessed to play volleyball and softball for Coach Wagner for 3 of my 4 years at Monmouth. She exemplified and exhibited passion, knowledge, and discipline as a coach. She had expectation for her players. It was to be focused, competitive, and show up prepared, which ultimately led to excellence. She was positive, enthusiastic, respectful, and supportive. Her office door was always open if we needed to talk or just pop in and say hello. She was not only our coach, but she assumed the role of athletic trainer and bus driver. She drove us to all our games. We would get our sack lunches in our cardboard box, and they'd load them in, and away we'd go. At that time, I had the privilege of talking with her on the phone Monday, and we reminisced about that. We didn't have cell phones, social media, so we talked. She said, I knew who was dating who had relationship problems. She found out about us and she cared about us. Her teams were definitely family. The experiences and memories on the volleyball court and softball field have absolutely had a lasting impact on me. Coach truly cared about her athletes and their success. It is my privilege and honor to introduce M Club Hall of Fame inductee, Coach Kathy Wagner.
I think they put me last so I couldn't go on for hours and hours. And I know he's got a big hook over here too. First of all, I don't know if Peter remembers me, but I remember Peter. I was Peter's pole vault judge a couple of times, and when he was very, very good. And I was nervous as can be. Not only is it difficult to keep them in order and make sure the height is marked right, but boy, when he would go up 17 feet and I'd be like this, and I'd look at that little mat. I was like, I wanted to run around and be on the edges of that mat for him. So congratulations, Peter and Justin. Justin isn't as big as I thought he'd be. That's pretty amazing. I thought I'd see some big husky. I mean, you got up here. You're good size, but for all those records, that's fabulous. Kim Tucker Cox, thank you so very much for the kind words. She was a dream to coach. Just, you couldn't ask for a better athlete to coach. Just very, very talented, one of the most graceful. See, I view athletics as art. When I competed, it was my canvas. Basketball was my passion, and being able to create, if anybody ever remembers me, I know Steve Lubin remembers me playing, and you know, I invented different ways to pass other than the traditional ways, you know, behind the back, between the legs. I was the original hot dog. So when I see athletes, I do think of them as artists, and their creativity, their passion, their ability to see, to have a vision of what they want to create, it does make them true artists. And thank you, Kim, you were quite an artist. Thank you, Roger. I hope those strokes are going well. When I first walked around in the Hall of Fame, and I looked at all of the people in the Hall of Fame, and to think that I was going to join that illustrious group. You see, I'm old enough. I worked with Bobby Wall, and I was this young man's instructor. And I remember him competing as an athlete, and you talk about an artist. He was good enough. He was a tremendous athlete, just tremendous athlete. So I want to thank all of you for this tremendous honor. And I'm going to quickly get back to my thing so I don't take forever. It's very difficult when you're a coach to try to encapsulates 40 years of being in athletics, and you know, my years at Monmouth span not only my 7 years of coaching and many different sports, but I also came back and was an administrator, which I loved. Dean Condon had the foresight to know that I knew students and loved students and enjoyed their development working with them. So I was very grateful to have started my career here. And I was extremely grateful to be able to finish my career in higher education here. So this is just an absolute honor for me. When I was first notified, as I said, I came to the athletic office to meet with Nathan and Roger. I took a stroll through the Hall of Fame room. As I looked at all of the past recipients, I was humbled beyond belief to think that I was going to join that group. Many of whom I consider, and we all consider, legends in our college community. This is one of them, Mark Hinkins. He may not know that right now, but he is. If that wasn't overwhelming enough, I began to spot many of my former players and students that I had taught. I left the Hall of Fame room breathless to think that I was going to join this outstanding group of Fighting Scots. It's really, really, as a coach, I've been inducted into 2 other Hall of Fames, one as a player and one as a team member, and nothing has hit me like this he's hit me. This is something. I also wondered how this happened to little old me. First generation college kid, one of 5 kids from upstate New York. There were 32 in my entire school, if that tells you anything. But I began to think of the people who have helped me, supported me, and generally gave me the confidence to think I could load up my little Volkswagen, move to the Midwest to play basketball, and then go on to become a college coach. But before I get too sidetracked on the many thank yous to the Monmouth College community, I'd like to thank my family members. There are 2 of them here today. I'd like you to stand, please, quickly. Thank you very much. And it's through your support and over 40 years of your support that I've kept my life in perspective and felt loved and supported. So thank you. Many of them are off working and umpiring, and we actually got Lynn is Chris's husband, and Mary Lou. We got Lynn into officiating. It caused a little stir here at Monmouth when that happened, because he was considered a family member, and they didn't think he should be officiating my softball game. So, and he's still doing it. I'm still doing it. You know, confidence is a very much a two-way street. Confidence comes from those who believe in you. And my first 2 teams were tennis and basketball. I still am a basketball fanatic. How about those Chicago Sky, by the way? Oh, wasn't that awesome? Anyway, the players all knew that I was a greenhorn, barely 4 years older than some of the players. It was their dedication and their enthusiasm that challenged me to be the best coach that I could be. I had a great deal to learn. I was right out of grad school. I had coaching experience as a grad assistant, but I'd never been a head coach. So I had a lot to learn. And I knew that, though. So I tried my best. I learned. I went to every clinic I could go to. And I believed in my players. Those first years were the foundation to my wonderful coaching career. Is Connie Devin right here? Connie Devin, my baby? You know, most of those players are probably sleeping in this morning, I guess. She's another Hall of Famer, but Connie was one of the first, and she's been a leader on campus with alumni and stuff. Those are real formative years. Quick tennis story. I won to coach tennis 1 year. And when we came, we had the old gym. I put some pictures over there if you want to see a picture of what the old gymnasium looked like before we had this, before we had Glennie. And it was a little thing that had a track around it, and it was just a little cracker box. Talk about a fun place to compete, though. I mean, people hanging over the balconies and hooting and hollering, and the place would be about 95 degrees. It was really exciting. With tennis, we had a couple of tennis courts off campus that we played at. And my first year, we had to put on the conference tournament. So I'm one for detail. I get out the conference manual and read every little word in it and get all prepared and everything. And Vernie Menbrick was the chair of the women's tennis committee, so I called her up and said, Vernie, you're going to have to help me through this, And so I thought I had all my ducks in a row. And the weekend rolled around, and Vernie came on Friday, and it was a Friday, Saturday, and Sunday tournament. And she said, now where do you have the indoor facility reserved? And I said, oh, didn't know I had to do that. So the Lord was with me, and we had sunshine for the whole weekend. So that's how everything started out, with a lot of luck. And we got through that. Having the support of my colleagues in the athletic department and throughout the college was so very important. We were very small when I came here. We only had, I think, around 600 students. We were in the growing process at that time. But I want to mention by name one particular that was with me through my coaching career and my student affairs career. I don't know if Dean Condon is here, Jackie Condon. She's not. She was with me. We started on the same day. She was the longest serving administrator at the college, and Jackie was a huge support for me. We're still are very, very good friends. I introduced her to her husband Neil, and she was the one that brought me back into student affairs. So I wanted to give a big shout out and a thanks to Jackie. One of the legends of Monmouth College athletics, and many of you I know of this person and have probably met him, is Dr. Terry Glasgow, who was, at the time I came, he was the athletic director, chair of the physical education department, head coach of baseball and men's basketball. To my good fortune, he was one of the busiest people on campus, which meant that I had a lot of space and freedom to grow and learn. And, you know, for somebody who's just developing, being given the freedom to explore who you are, develop your own personality and your coaching is so critical. And Terry did just that. He was always there when I needed to go into his office and beg for this or beg for that, or bug him out about some schedule or something. But he did just that. Just coming off the passage of Title IX, Title IX baby, I'm sure I tested his leadership on occasion with lots of requests for the women's programs. I do thank Terry for his honesty during this time. I can always work with honesty. It may not be what I want to hear, but his transparency, his ability to be forthright, he never covered up the stuff. He just said, "No, Wags, can't do it." And it really gave me a great start. I also tried to learn as much as I could from him from watching his basketball practices and games. I don't know if that was a good thing or a bad thing. He was one intense coach and treated his players quite a bit differently than I thought I wanted to respond to my players. So during my second year of coaching basketball, it was evident that my personality was not suited to a long career nor a long life as I was going to continue coaching basketball. I'm pretty competitive, and my basketball team would be running a fast break and I would be going down the sideline running faster than they did. Roger Sanders isn't here, but I got a little perturbed at a basketball official one time, and that's when we wore things called clogs. I don't know if you remember those. They had an open back, and I got upset, and I would just stomp my foot, and my shoe went flying out, and it headed right toward the officials. They were in a little box thing, and Roger ducked, thank goodness. But I was a little feisty when I was young, still I'm a little feisty. So anyway, you know, it's kind of weird to have a coach who you're hired to come coach tennis and basketball, and to go to the dean and to go to the athletic director the second year I was here and say, you know, we had an abrupt departure of our volleyball and softball coach. She had a great opportunity to move to Western Illinois and become their intramural director. Yaste, Judy Yaste, you probably know the Yaste. I learned those two sports as a coach, which was different. Basketball, I was self-taught. Title IX, we didn't have programs then. So I played in my own in the backyard and played AAU, traveled around the country and played AAU basketball. So when the opportunity came up to do something that I thought would give me a longer career in athletics, I moved to volleyball and softball, and the college said, we can't let you out of basketball. So you have the choice. You can coach all three or continue coaching basketball and tennis. So I moved to coaching all three sports. It was a challenge. I think it was more of a challenge because we had so many multi-sport athletes at the time. So I had a couple of players. Connie was one of them. I coached her for tennis, basketball, and softball. So I think they were having nightmares about seeing Coach Wagner in their dreams. But I want to tell you a little story about basketball story, because it's one of my fondest memories about teamwork. We were scheduled to play Augustana College, who was a perennial powerhouse at the time, in women's basketball. And they started 5 players who were 5'10" and taller. They had 2 5'10" guards. Back then, you know, I'm 5'4". In my dreams, in my mind, I think I'm 5'10", but 5'10" was tall, and one of them was an All-American, and they were taller, and then they went taller. They had a couple of 6-foot forwards and a 6'2" center. So when you looked at there was a picture over there of my first basketball team. Cindy Gillen was our tallest player. Gil we stretched it to 5'11". She was about 5'10", 5'10 and a half. And we went down from there, down all the way to 5'2". 2 of my guards were 5'2". And we had an average of 5'5". I knew our only chance to stay in the game was to get Augustana to shoot from the outside and to rebound like crazy and only give them 1 shot. So we prepared for that game. I think my players were blocking out in their sleep. I said, we're going to learn how to block out. So I designed a drill where you had to block out, and that ball hit the ground before anybody could get to it. It was like a game of keep-away, kind of. The ball had to, after the shot, the ball had to hit the ground, or you were going to face some consequence. So we worked on that and worked on that. Augustana may have won the game, but we out-rebounded those Giants, and we kept the game respectable. And that still to this day is, I still think about that basketball game. My third year, though, the volleyball and softball position, as I mentioned, came open. Let's see if I've already mentioned that. One quick volleyball story. We won the conference title my first year coaching volleyball. One of our Hall of Fame athletes, and I believe you have an award called the Mead Award. Kim was a 3-sporter for me. She played volleyball, basketball, and softball. There's a picture of Kim over there. We were in the little gymnasium, and we had just won the conference title. I don't even remember the scores or anything, but I remember the jubilation and people pouring on. And Kim was very strong. She came by to give me a high five and proceeded to dislocate my thumb. So if you see the picture that's it's kind of a newspaper clipping. I'm standing there with an ice bag on my thumb. I had to run up onto the stage and hide behind the curtains as I cried. It hurt so bad. But we were so thrilled to see the joy on those teams. It was just amazing. In my third year, which was after having coached 3 or 4 sports, I was finally able to hire an assistant coach. You know, I'd gone to Dr. Glasgow for a few years and said, I've got to have help here. I'm teaching a full load. I was teaching freshman seminar on top of coaching 3 sports. I said, please, you know, I dragged my own fields, lined my own fields, athletic training, packed my own bags, did all of our team laundry, everything. And so I finally, Coach Glass said, okay, you got a couple $100, we'll let you hire somebody. The woman I hired has constantly reminded me that her first year, her pay was a pair of coaching shoes for softball. Mary Lou, would you please stand? I not only point her out because she has helped me for so many years as my partner, and I know the athletes just loved and adored Mary Lou. If there's a yin and a yang, I was the detailed driver and get this done and crack the whip, and Mary Lou would be over there joking in the corner and, you know, keeping things as lighthearted as she could around me. So the players just absolutely love Mary Lou. And I know that not only do I, but the college owe you a deep amount of gratitude. And the players in those years benefited greatly from her contagious enthusiasm and love of sports. So Mary Lou, thank you for all your dedication. She worked a full-time job. She was program director at the YMCA, We'd throw practice clothes on, run over here to practice, change in our car. We didn't have any place for her to change here. Go out and, fungo hit volleyballs or chase balls, anything that it took. In softball, unfortunately, Mary Lou could not coach during the 1987 softball season. I had an assistant called Kathy Thompson. Kathy's probably not here. Probably working. Many of you may have known Kathy. She was and might still be the custodial staff in Lincoln Hall. And Kathy was an absolute phenomenal athlete in her day. And so I said, get out of the halls that you can get out, they'll let you out. And Kathy came and helped us coach. But I want to continue with Mary Lou a little bit. She couldn't coach that year, just got to be too much of a full-time job. But she did play a huge role in our winning the conference championship, which I'd like to recap for you because very, very special moment. It was my last year here, and to win the conference in softball, we'd come so close. We'd won the division over and over. We'd qualified. We came in second. We never came in less than third. To finally do it, we finally had everything in place. We were in the winner's bracket, but had just lost a game to Cornell College. So we had to face them again. They were coming through, the losers, and we'd only lost one, they'd lost one. It's the 7th inning. We were ahead 3-2. Cornell had the bases loaded. There was a full count on their cleanup hitter. Kim Bucker was on the mound. Michelle Perry, I don't know if Michelle is around. She's on campus somewhere. She was our catcher. Mary Lou was in the stands, cheering like she had. She had got the entire crowd to stand up. I looked over at one point, they were hanging on the chain link fence, and they had the fence going like this. I can't remember that. Just every parent, Kim's parents, every parent that was there, she had them rallied around for us because you could sense that Cornell had a little bit of, momentum. Kim was pitching. Kim threw a strike, which popped up to our shortstop, Julie. The game was over, and we won the first conference softball championship for Monmouth College. It was fabulous. So, just absolutely amazing. A real highlight. The lessons we learned from sports participation. Peter and Justin talked about the things that we learned. Kim and I were just talking with Will about how life prepares you, and I know Marla Clay, who's here, just had her last volleyball match the other night, who's retiring, was one of my great multi-sport athlete, just a fabulous. Her parents were here. I remember your parents well, Marla, and being in every game. But the lessons we learn from sports participation are so important. I know I'm here today. I'm not going to be foolish. I know I'm here because of my win-loss record and the championships. But my memories of those years are all about each and every player that I had, that I coached. I got to keep myself in check. The relationships formed, the trials and the tribulations, and the challenges that we face together are so much more important to me. Seeing these women come together and develop the teamwork needed to be successful was my ultimate reward. Watching them graduate and going on to outstanding careers is always a highlight. I'm not very good at Facebook, but I'm on it, thank goodness, because I do follow their careers and I follow their families. And staying in touch through the years and watching their families grow and many of their children becoming Monmouth legacies is especially rewarding. Like Kimmy said, and Peter said, your athletes really do become your family. And they certainly still are my family. I have an area at home that I've got Will when he was a little guy, all your family. I have pictures, hundreds of pictures of children. We were blessed with some extremely talented players here. I kid you not. I did some recruiting, but I was so busy doing everything else, I didn't have much time to recruit when I was here. So Monmouth College blessed me with the athletes. I'd meet them when they came on campus and do my best, and probably why my teams were all so short. Like this, you're talking to an athlete, sometimes they, like, what's this little shrimp going to be able to do? But many of my athletes are in the Hall of Fame, and that, like I said, is wonderful. But teams are made up of all types of athletes and all types of people. Some get to play in a lot of the games, while others play little, if any. And that is hard as a coach. Don't let anybody kid you. When you sit down to make a lineup, the lineup is easy. It's facing the rest of that team and letting them know how critical they are to your success. That takes effort. Each and every one of you had an important role, and you are all in my fondest memories. I still love observing sports teams, and have noticed that the attitude of the players that are on the bench is usually in direct correlation to the success or the failure of that team. That's why I brought up the Chicago Sky also. That's women's professional basketball, if you don't know about it. It's still one of our hidden gems in women's athletics. They played a very talented team, but if you notice the teamwork between the Sky and the Mercury Phoenix, it was so evident on the power that synergy gave that team to accomplish those things. And I know, like Kim said, when we were on trips, we didn't sit on our phones. We didn't have phones. We didn't have social media. We knew each other inside and out. And when you do that, you're willing to go to battle. And you're willing to practice hard. And you're willing to stand in that dugout and scream your guts out. Even though you've never played and may never play, you still know how important you are. And that's very important for me. Sports are not perfect, nor will they ever be. But that's what keeps us striving. Okay? People who bet on sports, man, you're nutty. I don't know. Things can be, a pitch can be off a fraction. It can be the difference between over the fence and a pop up. The wind can be blowing wrong for Peter. His grip can be a little slippery. Justin might lose his footing here. It's not, sports are not perfect. We cannot make them perfect. We do not want to make them perfect. We always want it to be a challenge, and we learn so much from those challenges. But I want playing within the spirit of the rules, giving it your best attempt, keeping teamwork as your focus, and above all, enjoy every moment that you are blessed to play. Those are the things that gave me the most enjoyable career in the world, and I focused on those. I have a little prayer I want to read you. I found this the other day, and I thought, I gotta share this. I want to teach my students how to live life on this earth, to face its struggles and strife, and to improve their worth. Not just the lessons in a book, or how the rivers flow, but to choose the proper path wherever they go. To understand eternal truth, and to know right from wrong, and gather all the beauty in a flower and a song. For if I help the world to grow in wisdom and grace, then I feel I have won, and I have filled my place. So I ask your guidance, that I may do my part for character and confidence and happiness of heart. Thank you to all in Monmouth College for this tremendous honor.
Coach Wagner, if you have time today, our volleyball and softball coach are standing right over there. Ladies, raise your hands. Make sure they know it's okay to drive vans and eat sack lunches, please. So that concludes our M Club Athletic Hall of Fame induction ceremony. Again, I invite all of you upstairs to see the permanent display just up on the upper level. I'd like to thank everyone associated with Fighting Scott Athletics. Would like to thank those of you for your generous donations in recent years. You've contributed to some really important projects like the weight room and training room updates. We've touched almost every sport in regards to what we're doing with those projects, and we thank you for that. I know Michael Blasing, I saw him upstairs on the balcony a minute ago. If you guys are riding in the parade, yes, no? Yep, Justin, I think so. Michael's going to be upstairs on the balcony, black jacket. You guys are going to go up, and he's going to zip you out the back door to your rides here as soon as we're done, okay? Coach Wagner, I don't know if you were or were not. I think I heard no, so that's up to you. Remind our inductees that I need you to be at the 50-yard line to find me at 1:45 prior to the 2 o'clock kickoff. We'll introduce you again there. We have volleyball, soccer, football, all kinds of stuff going on campus today. The homecoming parade will go down East Broadway here at 10 o'clock in about 12 minutes, so we're going to have to get everybody going. So thank you again for joining us today. Wonderful event. We welcome you back in the future for certain inductees. Your plaques are here that go home with you, so make sure we get those on the way